you, I can't think of anything more wonderful as a bloke than the fact that I can talk to me mates in pubs and bars and everywhere else if they want to talk about it. And when I don't go into a clubhouse or in a bar and start blabbering people I do here, because this is an official meeting and I'm supposed to be here as a blues preacher, so I've got an excuse to do it here. But I can sit for a long night in a pub and say nothing for a whole night till someone asks me. They ask me, man, the Bible says, have an answer for the hope that is within you if somebody asks you what you believe. I think sometimes Christians go ramming it down people's throats before they start asking the questions. We ought to live a life that makes people ask questions, and then we can start answering your questions. But let me say secondly, if you don't have meaning in life, and I really believe that's primary in the issue of male suicide, a lack of meaning. You can't tell me that because the farm goes bust, that's a good reason to go commit suicide. I mean, I know some of those old guys. I got a mate, a wonderful Anglican priest, died at about 95, a few years ago. And he was put in Changi jail, and some shrapnel had blown open his hip. And it went rotten, and he was dying of blood poisoning as his meat was stinking and rotting, and a bunch of meat ants came into his cell and drilled into his leg and ate off the dead stinking flesh and put a nest in behind his femur there and laid eggs and ran a whole colony inside his body while he lay in prison hardly able to move. And that man came out of Changi prison, wrote novels, became the president of a Bible Institute in South Australia, wrote novels, travelled all around the world. Now, mate, that'd be a good reason to commit suicide, that, wouldn't it? But he had a meaning and a faith in life. Let me say this last thing very quickly. We did a lot of research into youth suicide before it became the flavour of the month. We were watching this stuff back in the 80s, right? When it first started, that massive increase was happening in suicide with young people. They said it was the teenagers. It actually wasn't. The worst suicide started when you were just left high school and you didn't have the support base, and it was the 20s that was one of the worst period then. Well, we went out and we got onto the Bureau of Statistics and we asked for 10 years of the statistics for suicide for all of Sydney, all of Melbourne, and all of the regional cities like Geelong, Bendigo, Ballarat, all those kind of cities, because that was going to be a pretty big sample. And we said we want to know the suicide rate, the age groupings, and we want to know the socio-cultural, political state of the suburbs where they die. Do you know what we found? Everyone was saying, oh, it's about people being poor. It's not that. I talked to one of the head gang guys from the Crips and the Bloods in Los Angeles at a conference, strange conference, where a group of people in a group that was then called Moral Rearmament brought these gang leaders together to talk about how they could stop killing each other. And you know what this gang head said to me? He said, you know, sir, he said, in the city where we are, we kill each other. But out in the burbs, they kill themselves. And do you know what we found with the statistics? You are more likely to commit suicide at 25 years of age if you lived in Mount Waverley with a nice, beautiful bike and car in your garage and a good future in your business. You are more likely to commit suicide as a young man in Mount Waverley than in Collingwood or Carlton. And do you know what the two main causes were? Me missus went off with my best mate. Or, I can't see any bloody meaning in life. They were the two major issues behind male suicide.